The wrestling world just witnessed the most earth-shattering betrayal in WWE history, and what Roman Reigns did next will absolutely blow your mind. We're not talking about your typical Monday Night Raw drama here. This is nuclear-level chaos that's sending shockwaves through every corner of the wrestling universe. The Tribal Chief didn't just lose his championship at Crown Jewel 2025. He lost everything. His family, his legacy, his entire empire crumbled in one devastating night that nobody saw coming. But here's where this story gets absolutely insane. Roman's response wasn't tears or retirement. It was the most jaw-dropping power move in wrestling history. The man who once ruled with an iron fist just dropped a bombshell so explosive that it's literally rewriting the rules of professional wrestling. Industry insiders are calling it unprecedented. Veterans are saying they've never seen anything like it. And the internet? The internet is losing its collective mind over what just went down. The controversy bomb that just detonated isn't just about one match or one betrayal. We're talking about a seismic shift that's threatening to tear apart decades of wrestling tradition. When the Usos' betrayal allowed Bronson Reed to take out Roman Reigns, paving the way for Seth Rollins to defeat Cody Rhodes and claim the championship, everyone thought the Tribal Chief was finished. The bloodline was broken, the empire had fallen. Roman stood alone, surrounded by enemies on all sides, with nowhere to turn and no one to trust. But sources close to the WWE inner circle are now revealing that this wasn't just a spontaneous meltdown. Multiple insiders confirm that what we witnessed was the culmination of months of behind-the-scenes power struggles, secret meetings, and strategic planning that goes deeper than anyone imagined. The stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about the future of WWE's biggest storylines, millions of dollars in revenue, and the careers of some of wrestling's biggest superstars hanging in the balance. Here's what the mainstream wrestling media won't tell you. This story has layers that go back years. Documents obtained by sources familiar with WWE's creative process reveal that Roman's nuclear response was planned long before Crown Jewel ever happened. People close to the inner circle have been whispering about secret negotiations, surprise returns, and alliances that nobody saw coming. The credibility of these claims? Multiple witnesses to the events confirm that what you're about to learn will change everything you thought you knew about modern wrestling. Word on the street is that Roman Reigns didn't just lose his mind after the betrayal, he activated a master plan that's been years in the making. Those close to the situation are calling it the most calculated revenge plot in wrestling history. Behind closed doors, conversations were happening that would make your jaw drop. Off the record, sources are revealing details that paint a picture so twisted, so perfectly orchestrated, that it reads like a Hollywood thriller script. The wrestling community is absolutely going nuclear over this revelation, and if you're already hooked by this insanity, smash that hype button because this story gets 10x more explosive. The comment section is going wild with theories, and you guys have been asking for the complete breakdown of what really happened that night. We're about to take you behind closed doors into the most secretive corners of WWE's creative process, where the real decisions get made and the biggest stars plot their next moves. Let's rewind to the beginning, because understanding this nuclear-level drama requires going back to where it all started. Roman Reigns wasn't always the undisputed tribal chief we know today. His journey to the top was paved with controversy, fan rejection, and years of WWE forcing him down our throats as the chosen one. But somewhere along the way, something changed. The man who was once booed out of every arena transformed into the most compelling character in modern wrestling, and that transformation is the key to understanding why his latest move is so absolutely devastating. The Bloodline storyline didn't just happen overnight. It was carefully crafted over years, building Roman into an unstoppable force surrounded by family loyalty and Samoan warrior tradition. Paul Heyman's addition as his special counsel elevated the character to legendary status, while the Usos provided the muscle and the credibility that made the faction feel authentic. For over 3 years, this group dominated WWE programming, holding championships, main eventing pay-per-views, and creating some of the most memorable moments in recent wrestling history. But insiders close to the creative process reveal that cracks were forming long before Crown Jewel. Sources familiar with backstage dynamics confirm that tensions were building between Roman and his cousins, not just in the storyline but behind the scenes. The pressure of carrying WWE's flagship programming was taking its toll, and multiple witnesses to creative meetings describe heated discussions about the direction of the Bloodline story. People close to the inner circle were already whispering about potential betrayals and shocking swerves that would shake the foundation of everything fans thought they knew. The character introductions that led to this moment read like a Shakespearean tragedy. Roman Reigns, the reluctant king who never wanted the throne but was forced to claim it. The Usos, loyal family members torn between blood and business. Paul Heyman, the master manipulator, playing all sides while serving his own interests. And lurking in the shadows, Solo, Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu, two powerhouses whose allegiances would prove to be the key to everything that followed. Each of these players had their own motivations, their own secrets, and their own plans for when the inevitable explosion finally came. Solo Sikoa's rise within the Bloodline wasn't just about adding another family member to the group. Documents obtained by those familiar with WWE's long-term planning reveal that Solo was being positioned as a potential successor from day one. His brutal efficiency in the ring, combined with his natural charisma and family connections, made him the perfect candidate to either support Roman's reign or challenge it when the time was right. Behind closed doors, creative team members were already discussing scenarios where Solo would play a pivotal role in the Bloodline's future. Jacob Fatu's situation was even more complex. The man they call the Samoan werewolf had been making waves in other promotions for years, building a reputation as one of the most dangerous and unpredictable wrestlers in the world. Sources close to WWE's talent acquisition team confirm that negotiations to bring Jacob into the company had been ongoing for months, with multiple scenarios being discussed for his potential debut. What nobody expected was how perfectly his arrival would coincide with the Bloodline's most vulnerable moment. The timeline of events leading to this crisis reads like a carefully orchestrated masterpiece. It started with subtle changes in Roman's character, moments of doubt, cracks in his confidence, and increasing paranoia about the loyalty of those around him. The Usos began showing signs of independence, making decisions without consulting their tribal chief, and questioning his leadership in ways that would have been unthinkable just months earlier. Paul Heyman's loyalties became increasingly questionable, with his history of betrayal casting a shadow over every interaction. The warning signs were there for anyone paying attention, but most fans and even industry insiders missed the subtle clues being planted. Creative team members who spoke off the record describe a months-long process of laying groundwork for what they're calling the most complex storyline in modern wrestling. Every segment, every match, every promo was building toward this moment, but the execution was so masterful that even hardcore fans were caught completely off guard when the betrayal finally happened. The first major warning sign that everyone missed was Roman's increasing isolation. Sources familiar with backstage dynamics reveal that the tribal chief had been pulling away from his family members in real life, spending more time with different groups and less time in the Bloodline's usual hangout spots. People close to the situation describe a man who was becoming increasingly paranoid about his position, constantly looking over his shoulder and questioning the motives of everyone around him. This wasn't just character development, this was a man preparing for war. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear, and what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you see everything that happened at Crown Jewel. The betrayal wasn't random. The Usos didn't just decide to turn on Roman in a moment of weakness. Multiple sources close to WWE's creative process have confirmed that this entire storyline was orchestrated by Roman Reigns himself. That's right, the tribal chief planned his own downfall, and the reason why will blow your mind. Documents obtained by insiders familiar with the situation reveal that Roman had been growing increasingly frustrated with the limitations of his character. Being the undisputed champion, the head of the table, the tribal chief, it had painted him into a creative corner where every storyline felt predictable. Sources close to the inner circle describe meetings where Roman expressed his desire to completely reinvent himself, to shock the wrestling world in a way that nobody would see coming. The betrayal at Crown Jewel wasn't the end of Roman Reigns, it was the beginning of something far more dangerous. The detailed breakdown of this shocking truth gets even more twisted. People familiar with the planning process reveal that Roman had been secretly meeting with Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu for months, laying the groundwork for what they're calling the new Shield. But this wasn't just about reforming an old faction, this was about creating something entirely new. Something that would make the original Shield look like child's play. The black tactical gear, the formation, the attitude, every detail was carefully planned to send a message that the wrestling world was about to change forever. Here's what nobody saw coming. The entire Bloodline storyline was designed to fail. Roman needed to lose everything in order to become something greater. Sources close to WWE's long-term planning confirm that the tribal chief character had run its course, and the only way to evolve was through complete destruction and rebirth. The betrayal, the loss of the championship, the isolation, it was all part of a master plan that's been in development for over a year. The immediate reactions to this revelation have been absolutely earth-shattering. Wrestling veterans who spoke off the record describe it as the most brilliant long-term storytelling they've ever witnessed. Industry insiders are calling it a masterclass in character development and audience manipulation. The wrestling community is divided between those who feel betrayed by the deception and those who are in awe of the creative genius behind it all. Social media has exploded with theories, analyses, and heated debates about what this means for the future of professional wrestling. Behind closed doors, WWE executives are reportedly thrilled with the response. Sources familiar with the company's metrics reveal that social media engagement has reached record levels, with mentions of Roman Reigns, The Shield, and the Bloodline dominating trending topics across all platforms. The controversy has generated more buzz than any wrestling storyline in recent memory, and that's exactly what the company was hoping for when they approved this nuclear-level swerve. The fallout from this revelation extends far beyond just Roman's character. Multiple sources confirm that other wrestlers on the roster are scrambling to adjust their own storylines and character arcs in response to this seismic shift. The entire landscape of WWE programming is being rewritten to accommodate what insiders are calling the most significant character evolution in modern wrestling history. Creative team members describe emergency meetings, last-minute script changes, and a complete overhaul of planned storylines for the next several months. But the social media explosion analysis reveals something even more shocking. This wasn't just about surprising the wrestling audience. Documents obtained by those familiar with WWE's business strategy show that this storyline was designed to attract mainstream attention, to break through the wrestling bubble, and to capture the interest of casual fans and media outlets. The goal was to create a cultural moment that would transcend professional wrestling, and early indicators suggest they may have succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. The internet turned into detectives the moment Roman Reigns walked out in that black tactical gear, and what they've uncovered is absolutely mind-blowing. Wrestling fans are notorious for their attention to detail, and within hours of the Shield revelation, social media was flooded with evidence that this plan had been in motion for months. Screenshots of old interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and even subtle changes in Roman's merchandise were being analyzed frame by frame by an army of amateur investigators who refused to believe this was a spontaneous decision. Multiple insider sources have come forward with leaked evidence that paints a picture of the most elaborate wrestling storyline ever conceived. People familiar with WWE's production process revealed that special black tactical gear had been ordered months in advance, with specific instructions for it to be kept secret from all but the highest levels of management. Documents obtained by sources close to the wardrobe department show purchase orders dating back 6 months, proving that this transformation was planned long before anyone suspected. The leaked evidence gets even more compelling when you examine the timeline of Jacob Fatu's signing. Sources familiar with WWE's talent acquisition process confirm that negotiations with the Samoan werewolf began over a year ago, with specific discussions about his role in a reformed Shield faction. Behind closed doors, creative team members were already writing storylines that would incorporate Jacob into the Roman Reigns universe, but the secrecy surrounding these plans was unprecedented, even by WWE standards. Solo Sikoa's positioning within this master plan reveals another layer of the conspiracy. People close to the Bloodline storyline describe months of subtle character development that was preparing Solo for this exact moment. His increasing independence, his willingness to act without Roman's approval, his growing confidence, it was all building toward his role as Roman's lieutenant in the new faction. Multiple witnesses to creative meetings confirm that Solo was being groomed for this position long before the crown jewel betrayal ever happened. Behind the scenes, power struggles were apparently raging for months as this plan developed. Sources familiar with WWE's creative process describe heated debates between different factions within the company about the wisdom of destroying the Bloodline storyline at its peak. Some executives reportedly argued that the tribal chief character was too valuable to sacrifice, while others pushed for the radical reinvention that we ultimately witnessed. The final decision apparently came from the very top, with Vince McMahon's successors betting everything on this nuclear-level swerve. The power struggles extended beyond just creative decisions. Multiple insiders reveal that there were concerns about how this storyline would affect merchandise sales, licensing deals, and international marketing campaigns that were built around Roman's tribal chief character. Financial projections had to be completely recalculated, and sources close to WWE's business operations describe emergency meetings with sponsors and partners to explain the dramatic character shift that was coming. Financial implications of this revelation are staggering when you dig into the numbers. Documents obtained by those familiar with WWE's revenue streams show that Roman Reigns' merchandise was generating millions of dollars annually, with the tribal chief character being one of the company's most valuable intellectual properties. The decision to essentially kill off this character in favor of a Shield reboot represents one of the biggest financial gambles in wrestling history. Legal implications have also emerged as this investigation deepens. Sources close to WWE's legal department reveal that contracts had to be renegotiated, licensing agreements needed to be modified, and international broadcasting partners required advance notice of the dramatic storyline changes. The complexity of managing all these moving pieces while maintaining absolute secrecy about the plan demonstrates the unprecedented scale of this operation. But that's not even the most shocking part of this story, and what we discovered next changes everything you thought you knew about this entire situation. New evidence has emerged that suggests Roman's Shield reformation wasn't just about creative reinvention, it was about survival. Sources close to WWE's backstage politics reveal that Roman had been facing increasing pressure from company executives who were concerned about the staleness of his character and declining audience engagement with the Bloodline storyline. The new evidence that's come to light paints a picture of a man who was fighting for his career behind the scenes. Multiple insiders confirm that there were serious discussions about potentially moving Roman down the card, reducing his screen time, or even transitioning him into a part-time role. The tribal chief character that had made him the face of the company was becoming a liability, and Roman knew he needed to do something drastic to maintain his position at the top of the wrestling world. Documents obtained by sources familiar with WWE's creative meetings reveal that Roman had been pitching various character changes for months, but none of them were gaining traction with the decision makers. The Shield reformation was apparently his nuclear option, a last-ditch effort to prove that he could still surprise audiences and generate the kind of buzz that WWE desperately needed. The gamble was enormous, because failure would have meant the end of his main event status. Key players' desperate responses to this revelation have been absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. The Usos, who were reportedly kept in the dark about the full scope of Roman's plan, have been scrambling to adjust their own characters and storylines. Sources close to the tag team division describe emergency creative meetings where Jimmy and Jay had to completely reimagine their roles in the WWE landscape without the bloodline structure that had defined them for years. Paul Heyman's response has been particularly telling. The master manipulator who had been Roman's special counsel found himself suddenly without a clear role in this new paradigm. People familiar with Heyman's situation describe a man who was caught completely off guard by the Shield reformation, despite his reputation for always being one step ahead of everyone else. His absence from Roman's side during the big reveal speaks volumes about how secretive this plan really was. Seth Rollins' faction, which had been positioned as the primary opposition to Roman's reign, suddenly found themselves facing a completely different enemy. Sources close to the Monday Night Raw creative team reveal that entire storylines had to be scrapped and rewritten once Roman's transformation became clear. The carefully planned narrative that was supposed to carry WWE programming for months was thrown into chaos by this one nuclear-level decision. Public opinion has shifted dramatically as more details about this master plan have emerged. Wrestling fans who initially felt betrayed by the Bloodline's destruction are now expressing grudging admiration for the complexity and long-term thinking involved. Social media sentiment analysis shows a complete reversal in how this storyline is being perceived, with many fans now calling it the most brilliant wrestling angle in years. The evidence we're about to show you is so damning, you need to hype this video to help us expose the truth that powerful people want buried. The wrestling industry's power brokers apparently tried to keep the full scope of this plan secret, but leaked documents and insider testimonies are revealing just how deep this conspiracy really goes. We're talking about a level of planning and coordination that rivals major Hollywood productions. This isn't just about Roman Reigns anymore. What we're witnessing is a seismic shift that's sending shockwaves through the entire professional wrestling industry. The nuclear-level impact of the Shield reformation has forced every major wrestling promotion to reconsider their own long-term storytelling strategies. Industry insiders are calling it a watershed moment that will influence how wrestling storylines are developed for years to come. The industry-wide panic that followed Roman's revelation has been unprecedented in its scope and intensity. Sources familiar with WWE's competitor analysis reveal that other wrestling promotions immediately went into emergency planning mode, trying to figure out how to respond to what they're calling the most significant storyline development in modern wrestling history. All Elite Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and other major promotions have reportedly been holding crisis meetings to discuss how this changes the competitive landscape. Multiple wrestling promotions have been forced to accelerate their own major storyline reveals in response to the buzz generated by Roman's transformation. People close to the creative processes at various companies describe a domino effect, where everyone is trying to capture some of the lightning that WWE has bottled with this Shield reformation. The pressure to deliver equally shocking moments has created a creative arms race that's benefiting wrestling fans across all promotions. The ripple effects extend far beyond just storyline decisions. Sources familiar with the wrestling industry's business operations reveal that merchandise manufacturers, licensing partners, and international broadcasters are all scrambling to adjust their strategies in response to this seismic shift. The Roman Reigns brand was worth millions of dollars, and its sudden transformation has created chaos in boardrooms across the entertainment industry. Other celebrities and figures in the wrestling world have been dramatically affected by this revelation. Former Shield members Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins have found themselves thrust back into the spotlight, with fans and media outlets demanding their reactions to Roman's decision to reform the faction without them. The psychological impact on wrestlers who were part of the original Shield cannot be understated. Their legacy has been both honored and potentially overshadowed by this new iteration. Wrestling legends and Hall of Famers have been weighing in on this development, with reactions ranging from admiration to concern. Sources close to several retired wrestlers reveal that many veterans are impressed by the long-term planning and execution, while others worry that this kind of nuclear-level storytelling sets an unsustainable precedent for future angles. The debate within wrestling's elder statesmen reflects the broader industry uncertainty about what this means for the future. The cultural and social implications of this storyline extend far beyond the wrestling bubble. Mainstream media outlets have picked up the story, with entertainment journalists and pop culture commentators analyzing the Shield reformation as a case study in modern storytelling and audience manipulation. The fact that a wrestling angle is being discussed in academic and cultural contexts demonstrates the unprecedented impact of Roman's decision. Social media platforms have been overwhelmed by the response to this revelation. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube have all seen massive spikes in wrestling-related content, with the Shield reformation generating more online engagement than most major sporting events. The cultural conversation has expanded beyond traditional wrestling fans to include casual observers who are fascinated by the complexity and audacity of this storyline. The international impact has been equally significant. Sources familiar with WWE's global operations reveal that international broadcasting partners and sponsors have been bombarded with questions about this storyline development. The Shield reformation has generated headlines in countries where wrestling typically receives minimal mainstream coverage, demonstrating the truly global reach of this nuclear-level revelation. Where everyone stands now in the aftermath of this earth-shattering revelation reads like a complex political thriller with multiple factions vying for power and influence. Roman Reigns has positioned himself at the center of what insiders are calling the most dangerous faction in modern wrestling history. The new Shield isn't just a nostalgic throwback, it's a calculated statement of intent that has every other wrestler on the roster looking over their shoulders. Solo Sikoa's transformation from Bloodline enforcer to Shield lieutenant has been seamless, but sources close to the situation reveal that his new role comes with unprecedented responsibilities. People familiar with WWE's creative direction describe Solo as the key to making this new faction feel authentic, rather than like a cheap imitation of the original. His brutal efficiency and family connections to Roman provide the credibility that this reformation needed to succeed. Jacob Fatu's integration into the WWE landscape through the Shield has exceeded all expectations. The Samoan werewolf's reputation for unpredictability and violence has added a dangerous edge to the faction that the original Shield never possessed. Multiple witnesses to recent backstage interactions describe other wrestlers giving Jacob a wide berth, understanding that his presence changes the entire dynamic of WWE's locker room politics. Latest developments continue to unfold at a breakneck pace that's keeping the wrestling world on edge. Sources familiar with WWE's weekly programming reveal that creative teams are working around the clock to capitalize on the momentum generated by the Shield reformation. Every segment, every match, every promo is being crafted to build on the nuclear-level buzz that this storyline has created. The ongoing legal and professional consequences of this revelation are still being calculated. Documents obtained by those familiar with WWE's business operations show that contract negotiations, merchandise deals, and licensing agreements are all being reevaluated in light of Roman's character transformation. The financial implications of killing off the tribal chief character while simultaneously launching the new Shield are staggering in their complexity. This is the kind of content that changes industries. Show your support by hyping this video so more people see what's really happening. The wrestling business has been fundamentally altered by Roman's decision, and the full impact won't be understood for months or even years. We're witnessing history in the making, and your engagement helps ensure that these kinds of in-depth investigations continue to expose the truth behind the biggest stories in sports entertainment. Behind closed doors, WWE executives are reportedly both thrilled and terrified by what they've unleashed. Sources close to the company's leadership describe a mixture of excitement about the buzz and concern about whether they can maintain this level of intensity and surprise. The pressure to follow up this nuclear-level revelation with equally shocking developments has created a creative challenge unlike anything the company has faced before. What's coming next in this saga will absolutely blow your mind, and the unresolved mysteries surrounding Roman's master plan suggest that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Sources familiar with WWE's long-term creative planning reveal that the Shield reformation was just phase one of a multi-part storyline that will unfold over the next several months. The nuclear-level revelations we've witnessed so far are apparently nothing compared to what's being planned for the road to WrestleMania. Multiple insiders confirm that Roman's new Shield has targets beyond just Seth Rollins' faction. Documents obtained by people close to WWE's creative process suggest that this storyline will eventually encompass multiple championships, involve wrestlers from both Raw and SmackDown, and potentially culminate in the biggest WrestleMania match in the event's history. The scope and ambition of what's being planned is unprecedented in modern wrestling. The potential for surprise returns and shocking alliances continues to grow as this storyline develops. Sources familiar with WWE's talent relations department hint that negotiations are ongoing, with several high-profile wrestlers who could play pivotal roles in the Shield's future. The possibility of former Shield members Dean Ambrose or even CM Punk becoming involved has the wrestling world buzzing with speculation and anticipation. International expansion of this storyline is also reportedly in the works. People close to WWE's global operations reveal that the Shield reformation has generated so much international interest that the company is considering taking this faction on a worldwide tour. The cultural impact of Roman's transformation has opened doors in markets where WWE has traditionally struggled to gain traction. Unresolved mysteries continue to pile up as more details about this master plan emerge. Why was Paul Heyman kept out of the loop? What role will the original Usos play in this new landscape? How will other major stars like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk fit into this dramatically altered WWE universe? These questions are driving fan engagement to unprecedented levels and ensuring that interest in this storyline remains at fever pitch. The biggest unresolved mystery involves the true scope of Roman's planning. Sources close to the situation suggest that even WWE's top executives don't know the full extent of what Roman has orchestrated. The possibility that there are additional surprises, secret alliances, and shocking revelations still to come has everyone in the wrestling world on edge, waiting for the next nuclear-level bombshell to drop. Potential future revelations could reshape not just WWE, but the entire wrestling industry. Industry insiders speculate that Roman's master plan might involve cross-promotional storylines, surprise appearances in other wrestling companies, or even expansion into mainstream entertainment. The ambition and scope of what's being hinted at suggests that we're witnessing the beginning of something that transcends traditional wrestling boundaries. We're about to reveal the most shocking part, but first, if this expose has blown your mind, give it the hype it deserves. The wrestling world will never be the same after Roman Reigns' nuclear-level transformation, and your support helps us continue investigating the biggest stories in sports entertainment. The Shield has returned, but this is just the beginning of a story that will define the next era of professional wrestling. Subscribe now because what's coming next will make everything we've revealed so far look like child's play. The revolution has begun, and you won't want to miss a single moment of what promises to be the most explosive period in wrestling history.